Oh, what?
What? Oh, look at that.
It's got a magnet.
It has got a magnet. What if it has interference?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. I got excited.
Crazy.
I got a funny feeling. I got a funny feeling. Yeah.
We're talking about BRAHMASTRA.
BRAHMASTRA.
Hello, people. I'm Jaby KOAY, joined by ACHARA, KIRK.
What's up?
And this is our non-spoiler review for BRAHMASTRA. And if you haven't watched our initial thoughts and feelings about BRAHMASTRA, I do recommend you watch that before watching this, if you could. But we'll do our best to summarize our feelings right now, if you don't feel like going and watching that video, which is a little bit more detailed about our initial feelings. BRAHMASTRA obviously follows Ranbir Kapoor and Ali Bhatt. You got it from the trailer, and there is some ancient spiritual stuff going on with his character, and he's on a journey, and obviously there's like
self-discovery,
and
romance,
and love. Yeah. Well,
yes.
So there's all that, and it's dealing with. I'm reticent to use this word, but for me as a Westerner, it's dealing with Indian mythology.
Would you say it's Indian mythology or is it Hindu?
Hindu.
Mythology?
It's okay. Well,
Yeah.
it's still Indian, you know. But
Yeah.
for me, looking at the trailer, I was getting hints of stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know.
Totally, like the elemental stuff.
Like the elemental
for
stuff.
sure.
And
Yeah.
in watching the movie, it definitely felt that way sometimes. And funny enough, a lot of people who are from the West reference Scarlet Witch. And there was definitely stuff that felt like Scarlet Witch in this movie, but not in a bad way. It's like it was its own thing.
Honestly, that didn't even cross
Oh, it definitely
my mind.
crossed my mind while watching the
I didn't
movie.
even think about that.
No, it
I
was-
just thought like, oh, she's her own
But
badass
I
villain.
could
but
not
she's
even be afraid of her
so
though.
OP.
I could not even be afraid of her though, because every time she was doing something scary, I was like, yes, let's do that. I want to be the victim, please.
She's hot.
Because she was so hot. I was like, I can't even be scared because she's so gorgeous. She's so beautiful.
She is. But like, she definitely is that quintessential, like, sexy looking supervillain.
The movie is without a doubt one of the most dazzling films I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
I mentioned in the First Thoughts and Feelings video that we did a moment ago, actually, was that I think that there's going to be an immediate comparison to RRR just because it's another film that's being pushed in the West.
Yeah.
And RRR was so successful in the West. I think that ultimately RRR is going to still be number one in terms of winning Westerners over. But I do hope that a lot of Westerners take to this, because the thing that I realized about RRR after watching this is just the easy accessibility of the story of RRR. At its core, it's a simple story that actually feels similar to Western stories in a number of ways.
Well, and also it's really easy to get into emotionally.
Yeah.
The emotional hook is really, really strong, and you care about the characters so much. And
Yes.
You care about what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's going to take me to my next point, which is this film is such a visual feast, but I found, you know, somewhere along the way, I was realizing that I wasn't quite connecting to the characters as much as I wanted to. After we left, you asked me, is this style over substance? And I said, no, it's not style over substance, because it has style, it has substance. It's just the way that it was executed, I could not quite connect with the character's journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely felt that. I couldn't quite put my finger on it because there were definitely a lot of things that I enjoyed about the movie, especially when they got into more of the magical properties of the astras and
Yeah.
watching the different characters do their thing with their different astras and the weapons and the superpowers that they had. It was a visual feast, and they did that really well, like with all of the fighting
Yeah.
and the magnitude of everything was really, really entertaining, but I didn't really feel as much of an emotional connection as I wanted to. with
That
the
being
main
said, though,
characters.
there was some harrowing stuff going on in the movie. Like, if you look at one of the more recent commercials, there's a car chase sequence.
Yes.
And when I was watching that, I immediately wondered that some people are going to hate me for this, but I guarantee that I'm onto something here. So directors like to use a thing called temp tracks in order to help guide their vision. They'll use music they like from other big movies to help guide the cutting and whatnot.
Yeah.
And listening to the music and watching the scene, I could tell that the director had a temp track from Matrix Reloaded for the freeway scene. Because
okay.
if you listen to the rhythm of the music in that sequence, sometimes what directors will do is like, hey, can you make a song like that, like the temp track, which composers hate? They hate when you use temp tracks because then now you're trying to like compose to someone else's song.
Right.
You know, and so I could feel the nuances of, it's called Don Davis versus something. I forgot the name of the song, but it's the Freeway song. It's like 10 minutes long. And it makes sense because like this is a car sequence. Yeah, I'd say it's about on par with the Matrix Reloaded sequence in a lot of ways because it looked so good.
I was really scared for them, especially Alia.
Yeah.
Even though I knew that it was, you know, probably mostly a stunt double or it's done on some green screen or whatever. I must have held on to you at that point and like clawed at your arm.
I don't know.
Just like,
The thing about it is, what made that so great was I couldn't tell how they did it. I was actually asking myself, how did they pull this off?
Yeah.
There are some instances where I think I could tell it was green screen, but it was done so well, it was done so fine that it's like I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just sort of immersed in the action of it all.
Yeah, the
And
action was very cool. Like,
Yeah.
it was really strong, I think.
if you compare the Matrix Reloaded sequence to that one, if you watch it back to back, you'll definitely see like similarities in terms of the action and whatnot, especially with like the agents or the ghosts in Matrix Reloaded. But anyway, this movie is action galore. At a certain point, it's just like kind of non-stop, which I think is actually somewhat to its detriment because it's moving so much. I think I'm allowed to say this. The first half is so much action, right? When you get to the other half after intermission, it's like it slows down quite a bit before the action picks up again.
And then it picks up again
Yeah.
and it's like, whoa!
In that regard, it kind of gave me Shang-Chi vibes because I'm like, Shang-Chi did the same thing where there was so much action and then
yeah.
it dropped and then it picked up again and there was a lot of action again.
Huh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good comparison.
I don't like that. I wish there was a way that they could have woven in more character development and story because frankly, we don't learn a lot about one of the main characters in the movie.
That's what really bugged me because for me, as much as I love, you know, visual effects, spectacle, I need to feel something.
Yeah.
I need to care about my characters. And I think I did end up caring about the characters in the end, but a lot of that I think had to do with the spectacular talent of the actors involved.
Yeah.
Like Alia Bhatt was killing it with the acting. She was totally selling it. Ranbir Kapoor, exactly the same. Amitabh Bachchan, amazing. But I feel like their acting really carried it and they did so much based off of their skill alone.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I just read the characters on the page, I might have been like, well, they're pretty flat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought the acting was quite good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, across the board, all the talent involved was great. In terms of like the way that this story is told, I just wish that they did a better job of, for lack of a better word, humanizing it. Because that was the missing element for me.
Yeah.
Because you're right, like the acting from everyone is so good in this movie for the material that they had to work with. Although I will say, I never want to hear Alia Bhatt say Shiva again.
Too much.
Like,
Calm down, lady.
She says
Shiva!
She says his name so much in this
Yeah.
movie. I'm like, okay, like he needs a nickname or something.
Shiv. Is it too much of a spoiler? I'm going to tell my joke. So you guys, a lot of amazing and fantastical things happened in this movie. The most fantastical of all was how quickly Shiva and Isha fell in love. I was like, wow, that happened
Yeah.
fast. And I think that's the thing. I wanted to really feel them fall in love for longer. It was a very quick thing. And I mean, I guess in real life, sometimes love at first sight does happen.
I think I got why she was in love with him.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why he was in love with her other than she was hot. That's all I got from that. And it all happened so quick. The thing is, the movie comes out the gate with a music video introduction for Ranbir Kapoor, right? Shiva. I realized in that moment what the difference was between this and RRR immediately. It's that the music in RRR felt motivated.
Yes.
Every time there was a song, it felt motivated by what was happening in terms of the story and the action, right? Whereas this just happened.
Or it felt more like it was just trying to transition from one scene to the next,
Yeah.
or move from one location to the next, which sometimes is fine, but it's much stronger when the song is linked to emotion.
When it's story motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't get that at all. And that's number one. And number two, that first song out the gate was long.
It was.
It was a long song, and I'm like, yo, like I don't know, like
The
what
music video was cool though.
Yeah, yes, it was, but I need to care about what's happening. That's where RRR succeeded, is in those first 10 minutes, I immediately cared. This movie is like so expository. And I think
Yes.
that's the biggest problem with it, is like at a certain point, it's just like a lot of information. And I'm like, yo, like I need story. I don't need you to keep telling me what's going on. I need story to happen. So I'm immersed. So it takes me out of it, right? And there's some weird plot holes in the film that don't make a heck of a lot of sense, where characters are just next to each other sometimes, or characters' phones don't break when they should, because they fell out of a building.
Yeah, like, you know, some weird things happen. Like
Yeah.
I'm saying, a lot of fantastical and unbelievable things happen, but definitely the falling in love so quickly was the most like baffling one to me.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint, though, of all in this movie is just how expository it can be. So much was trying to be accomplished with this part one, and I think that's where its downfall is. Or it's not its downfall, but that's its shortcoming, its biggest shortcoming, because I think that a lot of this should have been saved for either another chapter or something like that, or just retooled, because instead of, 45 minutes of the movie being a narration being told to me of what we're watching, it's being retold in such a way that the character's experiencing this stuff and I'm discovering it with him.
Yeah.
Because the setup is actually quite good. You have a character who's got, for some reason, a connection he doesn't know about to something much greater than him.
Yeah.
He is oblivious. Great start.
Yeah.
Because now we can learn with him and live through him this discovery. Only it's just constantly told to us for 45 minutes, you know?
Yeah, I just had a thought, about movies like, for instance, Lord of the Rings, right? Like Fellowship of the Ring being the first part is probably one of my favorite Lord of the Rings movies. And I think it's because it sets up the relationships. It
Yes.
sets up the friendships so that when you get further along in the series and, inevitably they all kind of split apart, you know who the characters are and you really, really care about them. And there are some that are your favorites and you love them. Whereas this, I ended up caring for Alia Bhatt and Ranbir Kapoor, but other than that, I was kind of like, some characters a little bit, but I wish that they had cultivated more of the friendships and the relationships there and taken more time with it so that we could really feel for all of these characters, or like when things happened, like feel the losses,
Yeah,
rather than
totally.
it be like, oh, and they're not there anymore. I do wonder as well, because you're saying, and I agree with you, that this is very expository. I wonder if this is maybe really laying the groundwork for the next one, or is it three? It's 3 parts, right?
Whatever it is laying groundwork.
But it should still be a complete fun movie on its own.
Yes.
Which it is in many respects. I just wish that it was stronger in this one regard.
One of the things you said was that Alia Bhatt and Ranbir Kapoor had good chemistry together in this movie. I have to say that I half agree with that, because, and it's not their fault necessarily, but there's a number of scenes in this movie where the blocking is just weird to me. Between them, where Ranbir Kapoor keeps turning his back to Alia Bhatt, he won't look at her. And I'm like, I don't understand why he keeps doing this during this scene work. It's to the point that it's drawing attention to itself because it's so unrealistic.
Some of the blocking that they did when they were moving around, or mostly him moving around while talking, it felt like theater, and it was a little bit confusing to me because I'm like,
It's fine sometimes.
you have cameras.
Yeah, no, it's fine sometimes when the whole scene is like that and he's constantly got his back to her and she keeps following him while talking. It just looks weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like playing. It feels like steps.
Yeah, like hit your mark,
Yeah.
move here, you follow him. Yeah.
Just to end this on something positive, what we said in our initial thoughts and feelings is still true. Like, it's such a spectacle of a film. It's so dazzling to watch. And I think that an IMAX 3D showing, or IMAX or 3D, I think that's definitely the way to watch this movie, because it's such a visual feast combined with the music and everything like that. This is definitely a one-of-a-kind film, and you can see how much heart and dedication went into making this.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes you get so caught up in telling this grand story and you want to make sure the audience gets all this information because they need to understand all this information. Sometimes you have a hard time as the storyteller seeing the forest from the trees.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely happened here, because I think Ayan Mukherjee was so focused on making sure the audience got every fraction of a detail that he sort of lost sight of just making sure that this basic human story was told really, really well.
It's like, make sure that the foundation, the building blocks of your story is really strong, and then you can add on all the spectacle and everything. If you can balance that equation, if you can work that out, then you've got a winner of a movie.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I wish that this had, saved some stuff for part 2 or part 3, and I don't care how many parts you do. Like, take out some of the stuff the big details, and let's save that. Like, let's save that for his something he discovers as he goes through these next films, as opposed to trying to just slam all of it into this one movie. The movie's completed, and eventually you'll get to watch it. My hope is that Ayan Mukherjee is able to take whatever feedback, positive and negative, from this installment and make the next one even better, tell the story even better, and hopefully give us more of that human element I'm hoping to find. Instead of being caught up in the music videos and the spectacle, and the action's cool, man. Like, the action is really, really cool in this movie. It's definitely noteworthy. I wish it was all at the service of a story I cared more about.
I'm still invested in this series. I hope that it continues to go forward, and I hope, like you said, that Ayan Mukherjee takes whatever feedback from people and continues to tweak it and make it better. And I am curious to see where the story goes, because they ended it at a point where it's like, oh, there's definitely more.
Anyways, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed this discussion, and I would love to know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, I definitely enjoyed this film. I just wanted more from it. Just tell me your feelings. We'd love to know, honestly. Be kind.
Be kind.
I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.